Hello there, this morning. Today, I wanted to take a chance to talk about nutrition. And I think, from my perspective, it doesn't often get said, most certainly on social media or anything like that. Um, you take an example like McDonald's, it's actually can be healthy. A lot of people, they don't understand that. It goes way over their head. They don't get it. McDonald's essentially is protein, fats, and that's about it. And really, that's kind of what your body needs to get going. Obviously, you couldn't eat McDonald's every single meal because then it would become unhealthy. Grease, trans fats, cholesterol, those are all bad. But you do need some fat and protein and iron to sustain yourself. Vegan diets, there's a lot of good things about them. And, I really respect people that go through it. But the thing is, 9 times out of 10, nobody stays to a vegan diet. And the thing is, fruits and vegetables, a lot of people have this misconception that they're superfoods and things like that. They're actually not. They have a different set of nutrition and fiber and things like that, as opposed to meat that doesn't have those things. But that doesn't make them superfood. It's only because, well, people of European ancestry, through medieval times, uh, we didn't eat many vegetables because there's not a lot of calories in them. There's no fat. There's no anything. You don't know when your next meal's coming, and people didn't have the time to grow vegetables because you never know when some assholes are going to come down the road and just either take all your food or destroy it or whatever. They didn't go around berry picking too much because there isn't that many berries. There wasn't in Europe. In North America there was more, but it's still a day's fucking work to go get them. And you're not going to feel very full after you eat them because they don't have the calories to them. Uh, so, some native eating customs, it did involve berries, but it was still predominantly meat, and the people who ate berries would have been bison hunters, so they were eating a lot of bison, um, very dense in protein and iron, which is what you need. And, don't get me wrong, vegetables and fruit are great. You really should try to eat more. But you will have people who try to tell you that the sugar in fruit is good for you and refined sugar is bad for you. Refined sugar is bad for you, but fruit sugar is going to give you diabetes as well if you eat too much of it. But it's a psychological thing. Usually, when people tell you to fruit doesn't have anything bad with it. Eat fruit. It's because you don't eat enough fruit, and it doesn't matter if they say it one time for you to eat more fruit. Um, you're probably not going to do it. That's their mentality towards it. Um, I've gone on somewhat of a vegan diet before. Like I had the predominant amount of meals cooked without any meat source. Um, and but they are filling. Uh, Usually they have to have something starchy in it. Like you take a potato for example. Potatoes are not nutritious. They got very little going for them. They're filling and they taste not bad, but they don't have that much nutrition, especially as most people go on and peel the skin off of them. And then you take other ones that are staples in today's society and you take rice, for example. Rice has had most of its nutrients stripped from it. You wouldn't really enjoy the taste of just full on rice packed with the nutrition that it is. Um, it would be kind of it would be like wild food almost, and it wouldn't taste that good. It doesn't taste that good. there are a lot of things that people think, you know, are inherently bad, and they are in some ways, but in other ways, it's simply a thing. And what's a way to describe this? Meat is an essential part of people's diets. Uh, I mean, people can go without it. In order to do that, they do have to get their fats and calories from other things. There are other things, not a lot of other things that have them though. If you get out of the meat product thing, anything revolving around that, you basically got avocados and you got nuts. And guess what? They're both expensive. So people, who go, oh, it's cheap to eat vegan. Not really, actually. Long term, it's not. I mean, there are a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits that are cheap. Bananas are an excellent food, even though mankind messed around with them. They had to do it because originally they were covered in seeds and things like that and didn't taste good. Um, but it is, somewhat filling, and it's different from different types of vegetables because there's different types of filling foods. And for Europeans, especially, and other races of the world, um, there's only certain kinds of food that provide the right kind of filling, because there's different types of being full. Your body reacts to it differently depending on what you've been eating. Um, there's only certain types of food that accomplishes. I mean, you can get used to eating things like broccoli and cauliflower and eat enough of it so that you get full from that, and theoretically you will be healthier. Because the thing is, it's all about moderation. The people who eat McDonald's, as I said, usually eat too much of it, but you can have a McDonald's meal a day and be healthy, be perfectly healthy. You can be. It's all about moderation. And besides, if you can eat a bunch of fruit, and have a variety of food options, and if you don't exercise, you're still going to be unhealthy anyway. That's simply the way it is. Um, yeah. Um, Genetically, Europeans are hardwired to eat meat. It's the fact of the matter, whether people want to admit it or not. And for the real benefits of having a diverse menu option, it's going to take more than a few generations. It's going to take time because people ate predominantly meat for a very, very long time. And yeah, it's the fundamental flaw to a vegan argument is this conception that, oh, we live in an advanced society, we can afford to eat vegetables and fruits every day, and we can. But one shitty fucking harvest because of it's too dry outside or it's too cold or whatever, and those cheap vegetables ain't cheap no more. And that's the reality people are going to have to understand. And you also get people going, well, I don't live out in the middle of the forest, so when it's winter, there'll always be fruit and vegetables around. There may not be, asshole. How healthy are you gonna be if you can't afford to eat the fruit and vegetables and things like that? You're not gonna be healthy at all. You're gonna have to eat meat. And we don't live in a society where we're so advanced that that's completely out of the question. It's mostly out of the question that we won't be able to have access to any types of foods that we want. But you never know. You always get these doomsday preppers, zombie apocalypse, whatever the fuck, people going around. And, a lot of people don't understand that we have enemies we've had for hundreds of years around the world. You take the Middle East, the Taliban. They've gone under different names, but essentially they're the same people, and they fucking despise us. You have the Chinese Empire that despises us. The Indians don't particularly like us, but they hate the Chinese even more. You got the Russians who, their leadership doesn't seem as though they hate us that much, but a little bit, but not that much. They're just ironing out the things they don't like. However, these all play into factors into food and nutrition because the simple reason is they'd like to come over here and fuck up our food supply if they could. Um, and they know rather too much about our food industry, actually. Because you always get people going, "Oh, Monsanto, man, Monsanto this, Monsanto that." Are you an ignorant asshole or what? All those other countries I listed off, as well as many other ones, have their own version of Monsanto. They don't call it that, and they don't talk about it to Westerners, or to themselves probably, who knows. But don't think they don't fuck around with food. People have been fucking around with food for fucking thousands of years. That's just the way it is. Um, and Westerners, what they've done is invited other people to see if they can improve upon certain food type products. How can they do it better? And that's why Monsanto has been well known. That and the other sort of things they made as well. But anyway, the problem is when they invite people who are somewhat on board as far as advancing Western culture goes and things like that, that they also discovered fundamental flaws to some of the things we've done, and they weren't things that could be fixed easily. There are a lot of vegetable viruses, and I'm not just talking about the normal ones like E. coli or just whatever, but there are ones where it's not dangerous to humans because the broccoli, for example, is not going to grow because essentially they're clones as well. Bananas are clones, cauliflowers are clones. They're all clones. And if one element affects one particular broccoli, it's going to affect all of them in that region because they're fucking clones. And all it takes is, someone bent upstairs in the industry, and broccoli could become scarce, therefore more valuable. So it can most certainly be used in a manipulative way, and if they have a reason to do it, which they're not going to tell you why, then you got problems. Um, yeah, you got fucking problems. Because sometimes it's not even about money. Sometimes it's about, just really, really shady people. And it's like, okay, so every major industry in the world has the traits of being built on an inherently evil fucking system. And that's just the way it is. And, this gets back to the food because that means that eating meat doesn't become out of the question. I mean, like, you can go eat earthworms, for example. You could go eat bugs that are going to be in all the blackberries in parks. Pretty much, you only have to wait a week, and they all got a bug in it. And bugs have protein, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting food for a Westerner to eat. However, it could be done theoretically. Well, definitely. And um, yeah, I don't know. Food's not secure. I mean, it seems that way because we throw out so much of it, like the bunch of stupid cunts that society is. Uh, it happens a little bit less now, but before, people who were they bad? They were bad. I mean, there is a psychological advantage to it. When other countries looking in go, look how much food they're wasting. Uh, I guess that's kind of funny when they're our enemies and all that, but it is a legitimate reason for them not liking us. And ooh, did the Western governments really lay it on thick? And now they're trying to introduce this morality, sympathy thing for other places. Well, these people, these assholes, their idea of a Westerner displaying his sympathy and, really caring about the poor, starving people is them being ignorant to future problems, such as our government trading meat and our food sources to third world countries so that we pay more for it. And, you know, we still feel the sympathetic card while looking like idiots. And this is also that they can trade us whatever resources we have, or if we're being blackmailed by the supposed good guy country in this particular area, usually in Africa, because there are a lot of rare earth minerals there. And the thing is, the Chinese are really trying hard to dominate all of Africa. They need the space, they want the iron, or they want the resources, they want all of that stuff, and it wasn't well managed by Europeans, unfortunately. And it wasn't even completely pillaged of everything worthwhile. That was the other thing. I mean, if the Europeans were going to go take a bunch of stuff from Africa, why didn't they take everything so that there was absolutely nothing left? But no, resources needed to build computers, or it's rich in Africa. The Africans aren't rich, but the colonial powers that came along and snatched them up, like China, they are in that sense. And in some fucking tiny little mud hut village in Africa, it's not difficult for Chinese who traditionally weren't there to explain the situation in such a way that it makes the white man look bad on the global stage. Um, Everyone knows the Chinese are crooked, and they got phony promises and phony smiles. But Mud Hut Village, sitting on top of a bunch of what they consider to be useless resources because they can't eat it and they can't make spears out of it or whatever. That all plays a factor. And the thing is, you go, okay, push them over, just take it when they do that. But what does it matter what their opinion is? The thing is, with two superpowers, what happens is that the other superpower will inhibit the other one from doing things. They'll have dialogue. They'll get really into it and make it so that you know the third party, being the African nation, for example, that has these resources, actually has a bit of power, not directly, but because they got people that are helping them for whatever reasons on one side and the same as the other. And this all revolves around the food issue because people who don't have food are easy to bribe. You give them a little bit of meat, usually meat. Meat's usually easier. Vegetables and things like that. And, you know, for the most part, they're happy. But these are resources here in the Western world that we toss away like that. Um, if, for example, a loaf of bread is too fucking hard or whatever, we throw it to ducks. And we have, duck ponds where people throw food to ducks. That's part of living in the Western society. It's kind of nice going to a park. Um, they don't have that luxury in a lot of other places, so therefore food is worth a lot more money over there. This all gets into the whole fact that eventually, because of this bleeding heart mentality, that we have to feel bad all of a sudden, even though we didn't do anything. That they're going to start selling our products because they can get more for them in other places of the world. And you know what? If I have to be the slightest bit of a prick and explain this to people, and this is keeping in mind that there are people who are assholes beyond measure, that there are pricks out there beyond measure. Yeah, you're damn right. I don't want to pay more for my food. I don't feel bad for other people. because you do have to think about yourself first. It's a fact. And you know, why should we pay more and play the sympathetic card to make people who were the assholes of old look better? Because they're not going to suffer. Yeah, I mean, you get Justin Trudeau, for example, and when he apologizes, he's not apologizing. Words are just words, and that's the meaning for most people. They don't care, especially if you don't really mean it. And Justin Trudeau's way of apologizing is going, all right, I'll shaft some white people for you. Does that make you feel better? That's what he'll do. So every time Justin Trudeau apologizes for something, fuck him. He's an asshole. And it's the same thing with anybody who goes, oh, let's start treating, African nations, other nations with more respect and things like that. More respect, but you know, there's no reason we should be inconvenienced by it. I mean, it's not a nice thing to do. And, if we could go back in time a few hundred years, maybe we could change things, but we can't do that. And these people aren't actually going to change their minds. And they're not totally stupid, but I mean, they are kind of stupid, but their leadership isn't totally stupid either. And this all gets back into food and nutrition because it's a wide, diverse subject. It's not specifically the food itself or how available it is, it's also the politics of it that make it nutritious or not. Um, because if someone approaches you with romaine lettuce or a steak, the steak is more nutritious. You're going to get more out of that steak than you're going to get out of that romaine lettuce if you only have the option of having one of them. And that's the way it is. Because if food is scarce or harder to get, then you have to weigh out your options. And the steak is more nutritious than the romaine lettuce. Well, actually, coleslaw is more nutritious than lettuce, but that's beside the point. Lettuce tastes better, and lettuce is all right. And that's the other thing is a lot of vegetables are actually more or less the same. They taste different, but they're more or less the same. Um, there isn't actually a lot of nutrition out there, and nothing is densely nutritious except meat in the sense that it's nutritious in protein and iron. I mean, there are vegetables that are high in certain things as well, but nutrition as a whole is still a developing agricultural type of thing. It's not quite there yet, and it still requires a lot of mankind's tinkering. So anyway, I brushed the surface of a few topics regarding food and nutrition, and I'm making points that, at least on social media, aren't often brought up. Anyway, I will talk to you people later, and have a good one.